If it please, should I put this? If it please the court, counsel, good friends, I think we're all in agreement, the people and the defendants, that crimes were being committed at Hancock Air Base on April 22nd. The question at hand is whether these crimes were disorderly conduct, a violation of the lowest, pettiest level of crime in our codes, or whether they were crimes of war, crimes against peace, the most serious and dire crimes in the supreme law of our land. Now, I'll grant that even though the state was not able to convincingly say that any vehicular traffic was obstructed, there were 3 pedestrians who were obstructed. But those 3 pedestrians were among the defendants, and they were not obstructed. Their traffic was not obstructed by protesters in red-dyed sheets laying on the roadway. They were obstructed by police officers. Police officers sworn to uphold their First Amendment rights, who stopped them as they were trying to take a petition to a governmental installation, walking up a road, and their petition was taken from them, snatched away, and thrown into a gutter. As one of the first people arrested, it was kind of surreal to me to be sitting, watching from the back seat of a police car in handcuffs and seeing this tableau of with the yellow police tape and all the police cars and all this hubbub. And I know the police heard us, Lieutenant Daly and Deputy McKenna testified that they heard citizens say, on the other side of that fence, there is mayhem. On the other side of that fence, crimes are being committed. But did they respond to us? No, they arrested us. And on the other side of that yellow police tape that was very appropriately placed, on the opposite side of that, on the opposite side of chain link fence, riot gear clad soldiers, people were being killed. And they were arresting people, ignoring that and arresting people who are laying on the sidewalk. Now, Your Honor, your discussion with Ramsey Clark, your question about what is the enforcement mechanism of international law is one that Ramsey Clark said that he wrestles with, and I assure you so do we. What is the enforcement mechanism when the local police don't listen? What is the enforcement mechanism when Senior Master Sergeant Reinhardt, who is the senior law enforcement agent at Hancock Air Base, when he testifies, the only way that he has any inkling about what the mission of the base where he has worked for many years is newspaper accounts. And how can he be a part of an enforcement mechanism if he testified that he does not even know what the 6th article of the U.S. Constitution is? He is unable to recognize if crimes against humanity, if war crimes are being committed on the base where he is responsible for law enforcement. What is the enforcement mechanism? Ramsey Clark testified that people who know what's going on have a positive requirement. We have the burden of educating the public on the things that we know. Judy Bellow testified that if we would not have gone into the road, we would have been just talking to ourselves. Because we went into the road, because we crossed some kind of imaginary line, because we tried to walk up with a petition to our government when the police told us your government is not interested in your petition, go away, we weren't just talking to ourselves. We have educated the public. Our humble effort has been reported locally, nationally, internationally. I kind of hope that Major Sergeant Reinhardt really does read the newspaper, because if he reads yesterday's Post-Standard, he will read that Ramsey Clark says that the drones that operate out of Hancock Air Base are a crime on international law, a violation of the Nuremberg principles, and hopefully he will take his responsibility and act against those crimes that are taking place on his beat. What we did, Harry Murray put it this way: we were the who's in Whoville who made our voice heard. Dr. King put it, said that when a society consistently refuses to face problems that need addressing, we need nonviolent gadflies to raise the level of creative tension to the place where that issue cannot be avoided. Actually, I've been amused today and yesterday hearing the word inconvenience being passed around, and I think we are really pampered people. The most serious inconvenience that might have been mentioned has been that some people, we don't know how many, we don't know if many, but somebody may have had to drive in the comfort of their car an extra 1/8 to 1/4 mile to a different game. The highest level of inconvenience that has been mentioned. And all day, we've been graced by the smile of Abdullah, a friend of several of us defendants. And he knows what inconvenience is. And the millions of internal refugees in Afghanistan living in the hell of Kabul, because they have gone for safety from the air raids, they know what inconvenience is. The people who had to drive an extra 1/8 of a mile do not, if they exist, do not know what inconvenience is. And this fetish we have for convenience, former Secretary of Defense Gates calls the drone convenient killing. Convenient killing. We can fight a war with so little inconvenience, so little annoyance for those who are fighting that war, regardless of the justice of that war, regardless of whether that's breaking international laws, with so little inconvenience. I recently came upon a story I first heard as a child. I was 12 years old, 1968, the My Lai massacre. The slaughter of from 250 to more than 500 innocent men, women, and children in a village in Vietnam by U.S. soldiers. And the saving grace of that story, the story that can make us proud to be Americans, is that totally by coincidence, a young soldier, Warrant Officer 1, Hugh Thompson Jr., was flying a helicopter with a small crew in the area, saw the mayhem going on below, landed his helicopter. His crew got out. They got into the ditches and they stood between the children who were being slaughtered and their own American soldiers who were shooting them. They were pilloried as criminals by many in this country. Later, as quietly as possible, they were exonerated and decorated. To say what this technology that's going on at Hancock Air Base does, in a very extraordinary way, in a very new way, is the distance between the battlefield and our homes is nothing. The battlefield is a few miles down the road. Real-time combat is being fought a few miles from where we stand. In a sense, Vietnam and Afghanistan are about as far away as can be from us. What we did, I pray, is in the spirit of what Hugh Thompson and his friends did. Because the trigger is being pulled right here. What is the enforcement mechanism? I think when we have that great lecture from Ramsey Clark on what the Nuremberg principles say, I think we learned, whether we are able to accept it or not, the law is very clear what that enforcement mechanism is. That mechanism is us. And we defendants took just one small part of our responsibility under that law. And Judge Gideon, that law lays a very heavy responsibility, heavy burden of responsibility on you as well. And I hope as you consider this case, and I'm sure you will do it thoughtfully, that you will be taking those principles and that responsibility seriously. Thank you.